morning. I don't know what time you're catching this video today, but it's morning here at A Simple Faith, and we've sort of transitioned from sanctuary to studio. So we're recording this morning. Hope to go streaming live next week. Hope you're taking care of yourself out there and staying well and abiding by all the quarantine rules. And we're going to sing a few songs, have a talk for you today, and just try to imagine that you're right here. It's a little strange for us, singing to an empty room, but we know we're connected to you out there somewhere. We have sang to an empty room before. So here's a few songs to share with you today, and hope you enjoy it and hope you stay tuned in. Y'all ready, boys? Set that up. Three kids and 6 telephones. A whole lot of confusion up in my home. 500 stations on the TV screen. 500 versions of the same old thing. Y'all know it's crazy. It's driving me insane. I don't want to be a Superman. Just go somewhere and work with my hands and keep it simple. Keep it simple. The telephone, the lines were open, but there was nobody home. Press 1, press 2, press pound, press 3. Why can't somebody just talk to me? You know it's crazy. It's driving me insane. Be a Superman. Go somewhere, use my hands and keep it simple. And keep it simple. Store. They had a menu from the ceiling on down to the floor. Decaf, cappuccino or latte, asked the cashier. Just give me a cup of coffee and I'll get on up out of here. You know it's crazy. Oh, it's driving me insane.
Oh,
you know, some of y'all know him, Mr. Tim Riles. Hey, Tim. How are things in your world over in quarantine land?
Everything's lovely.
That's good. Glad you're well. Your family's well, staying safe. All right. And Billy over here to my right playing bass today. Billy, everybody's well at your house? Got your spray?
Got my stuff.
You notice that we're keeping our social distancing here while we play and staying clean. And Bama's up here with us. Bama the dog, she's always hanging around. Is she up here on stage? Yeah. Oh, there she is. She's just off camera shot, so...
From the trouble I found in the rubble on the ground, I'll rise. Because he who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise. Because he who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise. I will rise from the ashes, rise from the trouble I found in the rubble on the ground. I'll rise. I will rise from the ashes, rise from the trouble I found in the rubble on the ground. I'll rise. 'Cause he who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise. 'Cause he who's in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise. Sometimes my heart's on the ground and hope is nowhere to be found. Love is a figment I once knew, but I'll hold to what I know is true. I will rise from the ashes, rise from the trouble I found in the rubble on the ground. I'll rise. I will rise. I'll rise from the trouble I found, the rubble on the ground. I'll rise. Because he who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise. 'Cause he who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise. I keep coming to this place. I don't know just how to face. I lay down my life in hopes to die. Somehow today I'm gonna rise. I will rise from the ashes, rise from the trouble I found, the rubble on the ground. I'll rise. I'll rise. Oh, we'll rise from the trouble we found and the rubble on the ground. We'll rise. Oh, he who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise. Oh, hey, who is in me is greater than I will ever be, and I will rise from the ashes, rise from the trouble I found, the rubble on the ground. I'll rise.
Hey, that was good. All right.
Hear him out there.
You can hear them out there. That's right. Maybe a couple announcements here to keep everybody up to speed. I'm calling this my quick quarantine quips. How do you like that? You like that one? Yeah. So, folks, Garrett is maintaining a list. It's a threefold list. Number one, he's asking folks who are in need, if you have a specific need, whether it be financial or if you need groceries picked up, need transportation in some way, make sure that you contact him and he'll get you on that list. He is also asking for persons with resources, if you have housing, if you have transportation, if there's a tangible way that you can help in some way, then Garrett wants your name as well. And persons who are willing to serve. You might not have stuff, you might not have resources, but you have you. And you can maybe do grocery pickups or deliveries, run to pharmacies. You can contact Garrett for that, and we'll get this email in the comment sections of the video here. But it is gomchristian@lincolnchristian.edu, and that's the longest email possible. And I've asked Garrett to simplify that, and maybe he will. You can continue to give during this time, and we thank you for that. You can donate online at the church website. That is simplefaith.net via PayPal. You can also continue to send checks, and I don't want to sound like a televangelist, but A Simple Faith, P.O. Box 4943, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida 32459. You will not get any magic oil or prayer cloths for that. We're just saying you can give. Yeah, the Learjet, right. No, that's right. Or the camper that the band can be in quarantine on. So you can get regular updates as well. Text SIMPLE, SIMPLE, to 84576. That's simple, 84576. And to receive emails about updates, you can contact Garrett directly at that hideous long email again, gomchristian@lincolnchristian.edu. I don't even think Garrett's back there in the back right now. I mean, when was the last time you were a student at lincolnchristian.edu? How many years ago? 2 years ago. Yeah, update your email. Websites will stay up to date as well. You can go to simplefaith.net and follow the links there to our Facebook page, our YouTube page. Audio of my talks, past, present, and future, are at my site, ronniemcbrayer.org. Next week, we will attempt to stream this in virtual real time, and if we can get our act together. And we're playing with some new software, but desperate times calls for desperate measures. And so what you're watching now today is recorded, and going live has its challenges, but it looks like that will be best given that we may have several more weeks of separation. Just monitor all these websites above, and you'll have the times that we need. A couple more virtual happenings. The weekly Bible study is going virtual, so if you're a part of that Wednesday morning group, make sure that you reach out to Deb. She's still facilitating that Bible study from a distance. And the prayer group on Tuesday morning, I know this past week they used a conference call to get together and pray, and you can contact Kevin Simonson for that, and Garrett will get those contact lists up as we move forward as well. So I think those are your updates. And we'll sing a couple more songs here and then and share. And the drummer says it's 5,000 degrees up here, so since there's nobody here to get cold,
I'm burning up.
we'll take a little air conditioning.
You know when I lie. You can tell when I'm amazed. You can see my face. You know when I don't believe. You know when I'm free. You can tell when I need love. You know I'm in I need love. You are love. Lord, I need you. Love. You are love. I need love. I need you. feel my rage. You're aware of when I dream. You can see me bleed. You can tell that I need love. You know I'm in need of love. I need love. Lord, you are love. I need you. Love. You are love. I need love. I need you. I know we need you, Father, much more than any other. Your love brings us together. We need you. We need love. I need love. Lord, you are love. I need you. Love. You are love. I need love. I need you. It's a land of milk and honey. I know a place where the streets are paved with gold. I know a place. Oh, there's life forever after. I know for certain, for the Lord told me so. I know a place. There's rest for weary pilgrims. I know a place. There's comfort for the cold. I know a place where the multitudes are singing. I know for certain. Oh, the Lord told me so. I can hear angels singing, music to my ear. I see the hope of all creation on an open stage. Darkness never falls. I know a place. We'll be sitting at the banquet. I know for certain. Oh, the Lord told me so. I know a place. Oh, the Lord, He shall deliver. I know a place where I learn to free the soul. I know a place, y'all, oh, where faith will be rewarded. I know for certain, oh, the Lord told me so. I can hear angels singing, it's music to my ear. I see the hope of all creation on an open stage. I know a place It's a land of milk and honey. I know a place. The streets are paved with gold. I know a place. There's life forever after. I know for certain, for the Lord told me so. I know for certain, the Lord told me so.
Thanks, guys. If you're watching, give it up for the band. So these are crazy days, for sure. And I can tell you that in this first week of the pandemic, I have not been coping as well as I wish. I'm not sick. I'm not lonely. That's definitely not the case with everyone at home. I'm not hungry. I'm not lacking in any needed supply. But I have been angry. I have been livid. If we each had a rage meter in the middle of our foreheads, like an old thermostat temperature gauge on a radiator, the needle on mine, I think, would be redlined. It would be buried in red at the top of the scale. Why? Why have I been so angry? Well, I have so many reasons. From the macro to the micro, from the top to the bottom. I'm angry because the most powerful and wealthiest country in the world hasn't or can't mobilize in a way that will save lives. I'm angry that healthcare providers, people that I know and people that I love, can't get tests to administer to sick people, and if they could, they can't get protective clothing to administer those tests. I'm angry that our beaches stayed filled with tourists most of the previous week, that so many people locally haven't taken these events serious enough. Here in a local community where we only have 28 ICU beds and only 13 ventilators in the entire county. I'm angry at much of the religious response. On the one hand, people in my own family, some who lead churches, have had this attitude where it's just disobedience before God not to assemble together, and we're going to prove our faith and prove our trust in God, and the Lord will protect us, and we're not closing down for anything. And then there are the prophets with their hair shirts and their fire and their brimstone, blaming everyone they can, terrifying people further with their predictions, throwing a little racism in while they're at it, all while praising Jesus. I'm angry that people are hoarding toilet paper, honestly. I'm angry that my own father is still going to work. He's 72 years old and not taking care of himself. I'm angry that my 21-year-old son had to get on a commercial airplane this morning to fly to his duty station without the least bit of protection, testing, or guidance. I'm angry that people will die, that fortunes will be lost, that my children and their children will have to live with the long-term results of the world coming unsown. I'm angry that the wealthy or the well-connected get the care that the poor and the unknown cannot. I'm angry with the imbalance, with the arrogance, and with the ignorance. But really, actually, factually, I'm not angry at all. I have no control over anything. That's what I feel, as if I had any control in the first place. I'm anxious, a feeling that I despise, that I'm not comfortable with. And this is hard to say, and I wish I could soften it, but I'm fearful. I could say something like, well, I'm concerned. I'm a little worried. This ordeal bothers me somewhat, but it feels right, like confessing a secret sin, just to say,
I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know how things are going to turn out. I wish I could tell you everything is going to be fine, but I can't. Now, I'm not panicked. I'm not headed to a bunker somewhere with an AR-15, a roll of toilet paper, and a supply of K rations. But the unknown always creates fear. The unknown always makes us uneasy. And you might need to confess, like I have today, that you aren't disturbed, that you aren't irritable, you aren't angry. You're actually afraid. Because I think that's a good place to start. My friends who are professional counselors would say, fear turned inward becomes depression. Not deep, chronic, clinical depression. That's something else altogether. I'm talking about that energy-robbing, mood-busting listlessness. I'm talking about getting the blues. We appear sad, we appear paralyzed, we appear unmotivated, but it's actually fear. And those same friends who are professional counselors would tell me that fear turned outward manifests itself as anger. Fear turned inward becomes depression and sadness. Fear turned outward becomes anger and rage. So I think I've just diagnosed myself in most of our country. We aren't angry. We are anxious. We are afraid. But we prefer the anger over that admission of being afraid, because anger feels empowering. It makes us feel like we're in command, We have something to do and the energy to do it with. It makes us feel invincible with all of our adrenaline going. But it's a cover-up. We have to face the truth, tell the truth, though it is hard to admit. We are afraid, and getting on with life starts right there. A scripture reading for today, it's Joshua chapter 1. Verses 1 through 9. I'm not sure if you'll have a slide for this in the presentation. If you don't, that's fine. You can take a minute to find it on an app or an actual Bible in your home somewhere. This is from the New Living Translation. Again, this is Joshua 1 through 9. After the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant, and he said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I am giving them. I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on land I have given you. From the Negev wilderness in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north, from the Euphrates River in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, including all the land of the Hittites. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you. I will not abandon you. And then he says this, be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them. Study the book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night so you will be sure to obey everything in it. This is my commandment. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. How many times did Joshua receive the same command? Verse 6, be strong and courageous. Verse 7, be strong and very courageous. Verse 9, be strong and courageous with an exclamation point. 3 times in the last 4 verses, God tells Joshua to be strong and courageous. Why does he tell Joshua that so many times in so little space? It is because this is exactly what Joshua needed to hear. Joshua was afraid. Joshua was overwhelmed. He was anxious. Now, those around him may have thought he was a little depressed or a little irritable or a little angry. Nope, it was fear. And this encouragement was what he needed. Now, some context. Joshua became the leader of the nation of Israel upon the death of Moses. Moses is one of those sterling figures from the Old Testament, one of the most important figures in the Old Testament. This is Moses who walked into Egypt and said to Pharaoh, "Let my people go." This is the same Moses who brought down the plagues upon Egypt. This is the Moses that led the children of Israel out of Egypt, parted the waters of the Red Sea, went up on the mountain and communed directly with God and received from God's own hand the written 10 Commandments. This is the same guy that presided over the nation for 40 years. And just when the children of Israel are on the brink of going into the promised land that God was giving to them, Moses has to up and die at the most inconvenient time possible. And now Joshua has to take over. So he has to follow that act, the greatest national leader the country had ever seen. And he has to follow that act on a stage that not even Moses had walked across. Any person in his or her right mind would have felt the fear creeping up in their throat. Fear is natural. It focuses us and forces us to see what we're up against. Fear is the admission that we are weak and we are vulnerable, we are fragile, we are frail. We don't have all the answers. We are not invincible. And the quicker we admit this, the quicker we can hear these good words of instructions and start working through it. Just imagine if Joshua had said to God, "Oh, don't worry about me, God, I'm not afraid, just a little edgy. Don't worry about me, God, I'm just, a little irritable. I haven't quite been myself since old Mo died." Then he would have never been able to hear the instructions that God gave him. By facing the fear, he could get the antidote for it. Here's a quote from James Hollis. Hollis is a therapist. He's a licensed Jungian analyst and genuinely a spiritual giant. I don't say that flippantly. Hollis has more insight and wisdom in his tiny finger than entire generations have possessed. And this is what Hollis says. Fear is the enemy. Learning that fear governs our lives and the many coping strategies we have evolved to manage it may be an unpleasant discovery, but it is the beginning of liberation. All it takes to recover our journey is to recognize that fear is the enemy, not others, not history, but plain old fear, our fears. Only boldness can deliver us, and if we don't take the risk to face this enemy, the meaning of life is violated. That sounds a lot like FDR as the Great Depression began to choke out this country almost 100 years ago. Do you remember what he said? Well, I just happen to have it right here. This is preeminently the time to speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly. Nor need we shrink from honestly facing conditions in our country today. So let me assert, first of all, my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. We have to face it. Admit it. Don't cover it up. You have to feel it. And I had a dear friend named Horace Stewart who helped me through some really hard times. And he would say to me, if you can feel it, you can heal it. But if you don't, you won't. And I think that's good counsel for all of us today. And here are some other practical things that have helped me this week. And besides, this talk today is primarily for me. I'm selfish because I knew no one else was going to be here. And so I know I'm speaking to myself. Well, half a dozen of us are here. But I think this will help you as well. Some practical steps to manage your fear in these days. Number one, take a walk. You can maintain your social distancing. You can stay safe and stay well. More so if you get outside.
Breathe some fresh air. Get your blood moving. It will lighten the blues. It'll vent your anger. It will treat the symptoms of your fear. And it's a good place, essentially, and especially if you're walking outside alone, to pray, to meditate, to do what Simon Peter says, cast all your cares upon Him because He cares for you. 2, take a break. And by that I mean take a break from the headlines and the news feed. I know we are all trapped at home, and so we watch this unending, uninterrupted, slow-motion disaster on the screen. And I'll repeat something I said here just a few weeks ago. Our brains function with negative bias. This means that we react far more strongly to bad news than to good news. We dwell on the negative more than the positive. Dr. Rick Hansen says, in effect, the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences, and it's like Teflon for positive ones. 7 positive, healthy reinforcements are needed for every single negative reinforcement just to stay on the level. Yes, you have to stay informed, but bathing yourself in this disaster 18 hours a day will do nothing to settle your fears. Number 3, take a nap. And I'm quite serious about that. You're not at work. You have nothing on your social calendar. It's likely no one is going to drop by and catch you with your feet up, and so what if they do? These days are exhausting. Get some rest. Read a book. Watch something funny on Netflix. Take care of yourself. Be kind and loving to others for sure, but you can't love your neighbor as you love yourself if you're not looking out for your own heart, soul, and mind. I actually hope that on the other side of this whole ordeal that the siesta will become a North American priority. Everybody after lunch takes a nap. Yeah, give it up back there. I think there should be a constitutional amendment to that effect. So take a walk, take a break, take a nap, and finally, take God at His word. Joshua, be strong and courageous. Ronnie, be strong and courageous. Billy, Tim, Garrett, Bobby, be strong and courageous. And this isn't the only place in the Bible such a command is given. There are 150 different times in the Old and New Testament where the command is explicit. Don't be afraid. It is the most repeated command in the entire Bible. And it's the most repeated commandment in the entire Bible because we need to keep hearing it over and over again because we are all prone to fall back in fear, especially when the news is all seemingly bad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel that fear and that anxiety. It means you care. It means you care about yourself, you care about your loved ones, you care about your family and friends, you care about the world, but you can't let that fear be the controlling emotion, the default power in your life. Not if we're going to get through this. You have to hold to the courage that God offers and take God at His word. That's what I've been telling myself. It's what I've been telling my own children. My Joshua Bryce McBrayer, got on an airplane this morning, as I said, to fly to the other side of the world. He carried with him these verses that I've shared with you today because I gave him these verses. I gave them to him last year when he was in boot camp. He wrote me a letter and asked for a Bible. Lord have mercy, I couldn't believe it, that this kid was asking for a Bible. I knew things were tough. And so I sent him a little Bible. And it had a note in it, and it said this: Bryce, you might find encouragement, the encouragement that you need in Joshua chapter 1. And I'd highlighted the verses I've read to you today. I'd also bookmarked it with a $100 bill so you make sure to go there. And I reminded him of those words before he left today. In the days ahead, we're going to need all the courage that we can find. I'm not a doomsdayer. I'm not a prophet of gloom. This isn't God's judgment. It's not the end of time, but things are going to be tough for a while, maybe a long while. I said last week, and I say again, the impact will be far-reaching in a way that exceeds anything anyone on this planet has ever witnessed. And even after the virus wanes, the economic and communal fallout, the recovery will be a marathon. It will not be a sprint. The new normal will not be the normal we knew previously. Everything will change for so many reasons. And everyone listening to this, whether you're 12 or whether you're 80, if there are 12 people listening or 1,200 people listening, every man, woman, and child, hear this. You are going to have to be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Let's pray. Merciful God, you have taught us in your holy word that we do not and are not willingly afflicted and grieved by you. So look with compassion upon the sorrows of your people for whom our prayers are offered. Remember us, O Lord, in mercy. Nourish our souls with patience. Comfort us with a sense of your goodness. Lift up your face upon us and fill our hearts with the strength and courage to face these days. Through Jesus Christ our Lord we pray. Amen. I hope this word today finds you well wherever you are. And we here are thinking of all of you. We miss your faces. We miss being with you. And even though we're distanced, it does not mean that we're not connected. Remember to reach out if you have any need whatsoever. Even if you think it's a trivial need, there are no trivial needs in these times. And let's remember to stay together in love and in hope and to be strong and courageous. We're going to do, you could stop watching right now, but I think we're going to do a fun song to end. The great Kenny Rogers passed away this week. And as a friend of mine said, he knew when to fold them and get on out of here. So we'll do a song for Kenny. That's what we would do if everybody was here this morning, right? We would do this song. So give me a minute here and we'll do this song. Coughed into my elbow. Hold on, gotta get it big. Bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns to stare out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us. He began to speak. He said, "Son, I made a life, reading people's faces, knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. If you don't mind me saying, you're out of aces for a taste of your whiskey. Give you some advice." So I handed him my bottle. He drank down my last swallow. Then he bombed a cigarette and asked me for a light. The night got deadly quiet.
face lost all expression. If you're gonna play the game, boy, you learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Every gambler knows the secret to surviving, knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep. 'Cause every hand's a winner, every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. When you finish speaking, turn to the window, crushed out his cigarette and faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler he broke even, but in his final words I heard an ace that I could keep. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting. When the dealing's done, there'll be time enough for counting. When the dealing's done. We'll see you next week.